Throughout the Resident Evil franchise, the characters have had to make decisions, sometimes life and death decisions, and sometimes they've made really dumb decisions. Welcome back to the world of survival horror. Now, apologies if I sound a bit groggy. I have a bad case of the man flu, but I didn't want to wait another week until I made this video and keep you waiting. So here we are, and I hope I don't sound too bad. Now, when I say they made dumb decisions, I'm looking at it from a more of a in-universe perspective. And by that, I mean that the developers haven't messed up. These characters have made these stupid choices on their own. For example, Resident Evil 2, Leon decided to speed through near-empty streets of Raccoon City. If he hadn't been driving like a madman and pulling off handbrake turns, he wouldn't have had to pull out in front of a runaway fuel tanker, and the result wouldn't have been him diving for his life and split up from Claire.
Claire!
Leon!
I'm okay. Head to the station. I'll meet you there.
So let's look at Leon and Ada. Leon Kennedy's trust in Ada Wong is a recurring theme throughout the Resident Evil series. Both in the original and the remake versions of Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4, Leon's complicated relationship with Ada is defined by her constant manipulation, shifting loyalties and hidden agendas. Leon's trust in Ada, despite clear signs that she's not working in his best interest, is one of the most questionable decisions he makes. In both versions of Resident Evil 2, Leon meets Ada during the Raccoon City outbreak. In the remake, she introduces herself as an FBI agent investigating Umbrella's corporation's illegal bioweapons research. And despite several suspicious inconsistencies, Leon chooses to trust her almost immediately. In the original, she's just another survivor, so it's a little bit more believable. I mean, that might be my bias, but come on, trench coat and sunglasses at night. She might as well worn a t-shirt that said, "I am a spy" on it.
Lower it. FBI.
Sorry. Thank you for your help.
Surprised you made it this far.
FBI, huh? What's going on here?
Sorry, that information's classified.
You're not Gray Squirrel?
I'm not what?
Gray Squirrel?
No, no.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. When I saw the uniform, I thought you were another zombie.
Who are you?
Ada Wong.
And what are you doing here?
I'm looking for some guy named Ben.
Either way, he has no reason to trust her beyond her initial claims. She offers very little concrete information, and her actions are often quite suspicious. For example, she frequently goes off on her own, and in both the original and the remake, she's evasive when questioned.
Where are you going, Ada?
To the chemical plant. I have a feeling that's where I'll find John.
Ada, wait! Hey!
Instead of pushing for more answers, Leon just accepts her vague explanations.
He was an informant. Had information of use to my investigation.
So what he said was true? Hey, you can't keep walking away from me. I don't even know your name. I'm Leon Kennedy.
Find a way out, Leon. Before it's too late.
This blind trust leaves Leon vulnerable, and as Ada constantly prioritizes her own secret agenda over the larger crisis unfolding in Raccoon City, it's eventually revealed that Ada is not an FBI agent. Shock horror. But in fact a mercenary working for an unknown party, seeking to retrieve Umbrella's G-Virus sample for her own gain.
What was that all about? Running off like that was reckless and stupid.
Despite learning that Ada's motivations are self-serving, Leon remains emotionally attached to her, which compromises his judgment. By trusting Ada, Leon is unwittingly aids her in achieving her goals, which could have global consequences. He doesn't know that.
I thought I might need your help, and I was right. If you can secure the G-Virus, I can make sure what happened in Raccoon City never happens again.
Ada, you said it yourself. It's a federal case. I don't
Leon,
have the authority.
Look at me. I'm a liability now. If I'm gonna finish this case, you're the last hope I've got.
I'm not just gonna leave you here. What if you're attacked? What if you need help?
Leon's trust in Ada further tested in Resident Evil 4, where she reappears during a mission to rescue Ashley Graham. By this point, Leon knows Ada's true nature, yet he still maintains that sense of trust, or at the very least, emotional vulnerability.
Interesting.
Try using knives next time. Better for close encounters.
Not a bad move. Very smooth.
So who are you working for this time?
Oh, Leon. You know I don't work in town.
His emotional attachment to her clouds his judgment yet again and leads him to make decisions that endanger his mission and allows Ada to escape with another dangerous bioweapon.
Ada, what the hell are you doing?
Nothing personal, Leon. Luis and I had an arrangement. Don't worry, I'll take good care of it. Bride's here. You coming?
I think we both know this is where we go our separate ways.
Whether in the original or the remakes, Leon's trust in Ada is constantly shown to be a bad decision because it compromises his own objectives, puts global security at risk, and leaves him vulnerable to further manipulation.
Interesting.
Albert Wesker is the captain of the Elite Stars unit, secretly working as a double agent for Umbrella Corporation. His primary objective is to collect the combat data on the effectiveness of Umbrella's bioweapons, specifically the Tyrant, by using his own team as unsuspecting test subjects, luring them into the Spencer Mansion where the T-Virus outbreak had already occurred. Wesker's plan was to document how well the bioweapons performed against the trained military professionals. From a narrative perspective, this betrayal creates a strong antagonist. It's very dynamic, but strategically it's stupid. Wesker's plan relied heavily on the assumption that the bioweapons would quickly eliminate his team, and he would walk away with the valuable data. However, he grossly underestimated their skills, particularly Chris and Jill, both of whom proved to be far more resourceful than he anticipated.
Why do you have to destroy stars?
That's Umbrella's intention. This laboratory has been engaging in dangerous experiments, and recently an accident has occurred. Anyway, this disaster cannot be made public.
By betraying them, Wesker set himself up to be a target of vengeance. His belief in his superiority and control over the situation led to a series of mistakes.
I despise Chris.
What are you gonna do to him?
Start with his decision to use such capable individuals as pawns. Remember, he's the captain of the team. He knows how good a marksman Chris is, or how resourceful Jill is. Had Wesker chosen to work with his STARS team rather than against them, he might have achieved far more in the long term. By turning the entire team into his enemies, Wesker loses that chance to manipulate or control them in a more subtle, beneficial way. With his scientific background and knowledge of Umbrella's operations, he could have used STARS as a more effective tool for his ambitions, without risking his life and Umbrella's future. Instead, he sets off a chain reaction that eventually leads to complete raveling of Umbrella's secret experiments and forcing the STARS team to survive and fight back. Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine, the two key survivors of the Spencer Mansion, become Wesker's most persistent enemies. His decision creates a deep vendetta in Chris, who dedicates much of his life to stopping Wesker's plans. This culminates in Resident Evil 5, where Chris ultimately defeats Wesker, once and for all. So in many ways, Wesker's betrayal plants the seeds for his own eventual downfall, turning his former allies into his most dangerous enemies. That being said, Chris isn't without fault, but we'll come to him in just a moment. So, picture this. You haven't heard from your wife in 3 years. Probably think that she's run away with the hunky barman who was being overly friendly at the special birthday meal in a swanky restaurant that you booked. And then you get this strange cryptic message from her.
Ethan. You were right. I did lie to you. I shouldn't have. All I can say is that if you get this, stay away. Forget that you ever knew me. Have a good life.
However, instead of reporting the situation to the authorities or bringing any kind of help, Ethan decides to investigate on his own, as you do, driving to the seemingly abandoned Baker farm in Dulvey, Louisiana. After not hearing from Mia for 3 years, and even if you've been looking for her and know for a fact that she's not just had an affair, a more reasonable person would have been to contact the police or even hire a private investigator. The tone of the message, filled with fear and warning, should have been enough to raise red flags. Instead, Ethan's solo mission into the unknown and dangerous situation shows a complete lack of caution. Upon arriving at the Baker estate, there are several immediate indications that something's seriously wrong. The decaying state of the house, strange objects in the yard, the ominous atmosphere that kind of should have set off alarms for Ethan. The red flags all over. Instead of proceeding cautiously or turning back when things appear to be dangerous, Ethan pushes forward. His curiosity and his determination to find Mia overshadow his better judgment, leading him directly into the clutches of the Baker family. Okay, I admit there is an element of developer problem with this. If we had started a brand new game and then Ethan had refused to enter the house without waiting for the police or the FBI to arrive, then it wouldn't have been a very good game. I get that, alright? But on a side note, the very first time I played this game was in VR, and I made my wife go through that first door because I was convinced there was someone who was going to jump out at me. I must admit I did look a bit disappointed when they didn't, and I looked a bit silly in front of my wife. But anyway, they could have written it better, to show Ethan not being so dumb. The film crew could have been his buddies who came along to document it. The police officer that you meet later on in the game could have been called before they entered, and with his buddies too eager to wait, they go in, and so Ethan follows them in, and therefore he's stuck in the creepy house before backups arrived. This would result in Ethan at least being trapped in the house, only this time by circumstance rather than blind stupidity. So, back to Chris. Chris and his team are aware that Mia has been replaced by a bioweapon, Miranda, in the opening of Resident Evil 8, but instead of telling Ethan the truth from the beginning, Chris stages some elaborate operation that appears to be violent, cold-blooded murder of Mia in front of Ethan. This creates an unnecessary amount of confusion and distress for Ethan, who has no idea what's actually going on. Had Chris been upfront with Ethan from the start, Ethan then would have been better prepared for the dangers ahead and could have avoided much of the confusion that follows. Ethan is deeply traumatized by what he perceived as his wife being murdered, leading him to make a desperate and emotionally driven decision throughout the game. By withholding the truth, Chris causes Ethan to act out of rage, confusion, rather than strategy. This lack of information turns Ethan into a loose cannon, which complicates Chris's mission further down the line, and makes everything far more dangerous. I suppose from a narrative standpoint, it was a plot device to create tension and confusion and push Ethan into taking action, which helped drive the story forward, I admit. However, from a logical or tactical standpoint, Chris's decision's risky. Keeping Ethan in the dark, he underestimates Ethan's determination, which led Ethan to confront dangerous situation without knowing the full context, arguably making things worse. So while it served the story, it's debatable whether it was a wise decision from a practical sense. Now, I've tried not to include developer decisions in that list, but there is one developer decision that I just can't seem to get my head around. And that's in the video that's on screen now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you survivors next time. Ethan's deeply traumatized. Ethan is deeply... Oh, for fuck's sake. Ethan is deeply traumatized. I can't even say it.